So, today I wanted to discuss what is organizational communications. And the first question I wanted to ask was, what is communication? If you think about it, the general answer would just be having a message back and forth or exchanging information from one person to another or to multiple people. Communication is a key part of having relationships. And so with that in mind, now think about the second question, which is, what is organization? And if you think about it, when I think of organization, I just think of putting the big boxes with the big boxes, or putting the little boxes with the little boxes, or color coding your closet. Anything with having order is communication through organization. And I say that because you can't have communication without organization, and vice versa. You can't have organization without communications. If you think about it, organization isn't something natural. It's not like wind, trees, rain, mountains, snows, anything like that. It is something that was created or made by people. And the way that people discuss this and made up the idea of organization is having a conversation back and forth between others by expressing their feelings, their opinions, their end goal and what they want. So with what I said about communication and organization being together, you can't have organization without communication, because that is what made it. So if you think about it, what you say often is much less important than how you say it. Let me say that again. What you say is often much less important than how you say it. Like if you're going to go talk to a professor, and if you, for instance, go up to them and you're all up in their face and out of whack and just super stressed out, and you get nervous and start getting upset with them and start yelling and criticizing everything that they do, things could go bad because you're not communicating the way that you should be. Let's see, for an instance, if you go up to a professor and you have a conversation and you sit down and you discuss what you want out of the class and your expectations of how you want to be able to get a good grade out of the class. And if you have a conversation back and forth that is on the same level and is not abrupt or anything like that, it's the way you say it, the way that you express your emotions and your feelings is how you communicate effectively and with organization with your professor. And that way things can be calmed down and you can get your point across very easily that way, and there won't be any contention. Communication that happens within organization. If you go to any organization and you think about like a business, if you walk into an office, or like a dental office, and you see someone talking on the phone, that is organization and communication. Or if you see someone sending an email or sending a memo or anything from speeches to giving a presentation, anything like that is communication with organization. And the other way around, it is organization with communication because of the way we go about these things. We need to see organization as communication is if we would open or bring new things to life. So it's like saying, if you bring communication into your business, and it needs to be good communication, like we said, how you say things and how much more effective that will come across to people as being kind or getting your point across in a kind way. So with this saying, we need to see organization as communication, like I said. There needs to be points across the table in a nice communicative way. In instance, getting the right information to the right people is critical. If you think about it, We need effective communication within organization. Like I said, it is the way you get your point across to the people. So I wanted to discuss what communication is and organizational communication, in other words, through the idea of rappelling. I love to go rappelling, so I wanted to show you some of my gear and how I can compare it to communications and being organized in communications. This is my rappelling harness, and with this harness I have to be organized with it and make sure that all of my gear is properly taken care of every single day that I take it out. And every time before I put any of my gear on when we go rappelling, I go through each strap to make sure that everything is perfect and that there are no cuts in anything. With this, communication and communication with others as well. Me and my dad, we always take people through rappels like the scouts or the young women or anything like that. And we're technically their leaders, and every time we tell them how to put the gear on, and then you go through and you make sure that everything is organized and that they have their gloves, their harness on correctly, and that everything is cinched up perfectly. And with rappelling in organization, and having organization in rappelling is vital key to rappelling, because you can't have organization without rappelling. Because you can't have rappelling without organization because of how effective it is to be aware of your surroundings. And one important thing of rappelling, we always go in a slot canyon, and that is where it's like in the mountains, and there's a canyon going down, and it's like this tight, and you have to pay attention to the weather all week long before you go, because if it rains, you can get washed out and bad things can happen and you can get stuck in there, or something worse can happen. So always being organized and having a flashlight on we always have a backpack. So the vital things we always have is Band-Aids, aid kits, flashlights, and extra batteries, and extra food and water. And then if you think about the gear, comparing it to organization, you always have to be organized, and you can't go rappelling if you don't have your main functions. And this is what I hook up to my harness, and this is the carabiner, and you open it like this, and that's how you clip it onto the rope and onto your harness. This is called a Piranha, and it's just a rappelling device, and this is where you put the rope in through like this, like a circle, and then it loops over and then into this, and then you clip it on. And one important thing with this, we marked red right here so that we could always make sure that this was always covered before we go down, so that it can't ever open. And with this, you can't have rappelling without this. You can't be safe. And talking about safety in rappelling is then guided back to communications and decision making in communications, and how vital this can be to the lives that you have in your hands with rappelling. Communications with your decision making is very vital. Decision making is an ongoing process that is integrated into structures and behaviors throughout and beyond organization. If you think about it, poor decisions can lead to bad things in any type of organization. And I think with organizational communications, if you have good decision making, you will always have a good outcome. Of course, there can be miscommunications between one party and another party, but the way you go about it and the decisions you make to confront people, and the way how you confront the people through communication is vital. And bringing it back to rappelling, this is another thing that I always have with me on my harness. This is what I hook onto my rappelling harness. I hook it on, and then I hook this part onto the cliff, where I need to, as if I need to lean over and grab the rope to hook myself on. And then once I'm hooked onto the rope and I'm hooked onto the cliff, then I can unhook this and then I can go down the cliff. I'm always hooked onto the rope. I'm always safe. And with rappelling, you need to be aware of your surroundings and always be organized and ready for whatever is coming your way, because you don't never know if you go around a turn and then you have to reach out to grab onto another rope. So always being prepared and being cautious, making good decisions is how you have effective communication and how you have effective businesses or having fun with rappelling and being safe. And bringing it back to communication and the concept of organizational communications is the most important thing is what you say is often much less important than how you say it. And being organized in communication is key to having success.